What's happening, people? It's your girl Minna. Welcome back to the channel. You already know what it is. Big up to everyone locked in. It's Wednesday. It's another match day for Manchester United, and boy, do we have quite a bit to talk about in the build up to that. So be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe as well if you are new here. A lot of content coming out on the channel, a lot of match reactions, etc, etc. So make sure you turn on your post notifications so that when I do post, you guys do get notified. But like I said, today is a match day, unfortunately, and it's another one at Old Trafford, and it's another one where we can't really know what to expect because Manchester United are just quite unpredictably predictable this season. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the manager's pre-game comments. He said some interesting stuff about Rasmus Højlund, gave some insight into Luke Shaw and Mason Mount's potential or maybe not potential return for the season. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some transfer talk as well, and just build up to the game. 7:30 kickoff. There's a lot of games on at the same time today. I don't know, man. Whoever was doing the scheduling for the Premier League, they had a little stinker because Man United versus Ipswich is on. Nottingham Forest versus Arsenal is on. Liverpool versus Newcastle is on. And Spurs versus Manchester City is on. And there's, I think, Brentford versus Everton. I think that's the other game. 5 games all on around the same time. The good thing is, thank God, in the UK, you know, you can watch all the games on television this week because it's midweek and TNT got the rights. But it's just a howler of a schedule. I don't know what game I'm going to watch. I'm going to obviously have Man United versus Ipswich, unfortunately, on the TV, but on the tablet, on the laptop, etc. I don't know what other games I'm going to watch. I feel like Spurs versus City is not going to be that. Like, I don't know. I don't want to watch that. I think Forest versus Arsenal will be a good game. Liverpool versus Newcastle might be an interesting game as well because Newcastle just tend to, I don't know, they have a good game, then they have a bad game. They have a good game, then they have a bad game. So I don't know. I feel like they might just turn around and just give it all to Liverpool and let them put 3-4 past them. And I actually think that's a preview for the Carabao Cup final as well. That's in a couple of weeks. But big up to everyone. Like I said, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Big up Riri in the chat. Big up Tualumba in the chat. Big up Jonathan in the chat. Yusuf says Højlund should start today after Amorim's comments. Let's actually start with that. I was going to start with transfer news, but you know what? Let's actually start with that because it is kind of the biggest kind of talking point right now in the Manchester United media world right now is the manager's pre-game comments about Rasmus Højlund. Did he lie? I don't think so, but I don't think it's that accurate in my opinion. I think he is saving face. Like, I know it's not the same, but if you look at the way that Arne Slot is talking about Darwin Núñez in the media, bro, Arne Slot is ripping into Darwin Núñez, essentially saying he's not good enough to play for this team. And basically he said that every player that wants to play for this team has to be of the level of Mohamed Salah, and Darwin Núñez is not of that level. I know he's going to probably get sold in the summer, and if Liverpool somehow end up with like Alexander Isak, I will be haunted. But you can see the kind of contrasting comments of both managers and how they're both talking about their strikers, especially given the fact that I think Darwin Núñez has been frozen out of the team or is in the process of being frozen out. Whereas Rasmus Højlund is still getting his involvement. He's still getting his opportunities to play in the first team. He's still getting the opportunities to start, and yet he still only has 2 goals in the league. I mean, Man United's top goal scorers in the league is Bruno Fernandes with 6, Ahmad with 6. Assist tally is Bruno with 6, Ahmad with 6, and then Diogo Dalot with 1. That shows you how bad Man United are at creating and finishing the chances that are created. And this argument, you know, sometimes I'm like, am I going crazy when I watch Man United, or am I just being gaslit by people? Because this argument, do you guys feel like Man United don't create enough? Because I think Man United create a sufficient amount to score. That's what I think. I think they create sufficient amount. However, I do think a lot of what Manchester United do create in front of goal, it's not clear-cut opportunities. They're like shots from the edge of the box. They're like cutbacks across the box, you know, that no one's getting on the end of. They're not clear-cut opportunities. But if you had a number 9 that makes the right movements in and around that box, I think it would be a big chance created, quotation mark. I hate the term XA, like XG and XA, expected assists and expected goals. I don't really like that because I don't think it's also an accurate representation or an accurate description of assists. Because, for example, I saw that Mohamed Salah had like I think it like expected assists were like 5 or like 4 or something in the Premier League, and the guy's got 16 assists. And I don't think that represents really, the fact that he's creating assists out of luck. I think, if anything, if you watch the level of the assists that he's creating, he's literally plucking those passes out of nowhere. So I think that is an important part to consider when you consider expected goals and expected assists. I know it's like a data metric that people like to follow now, but I also don't think it should be the kind of it shouldn't be what we use to critically analyze a player. Because if today someone says to me, and I'm going to show you a lot of very interesting graph that I saw on The Athletic this morning, which kind of sums up Rasmus Højlund. Let me see what you're saying in the chat, and then I'm going to share what Ruben Amorim said, because I realized I didn't actually say it. Big up to Uthman in the chat, says, I think our team over the past few years is designed to work around creating your own chances. Rashford, Bruno, Ahmad, Garnacho seem to understand this and read situations better than Højlund. Jonathan says Højlund to score today. Big up to OJ, says we create enough to score some decent goals. I agree. I do think we definitely create enough to at least get some chances on goal. Whether players are putting it away, that's a different thing. Big up to Mahir, says Rasmus was always going to start today's game because we don't have any other option, although saying that would love to see Chido getting more minutes, maybe after the 60th. Let's talk about what Ruben Amorim said about Rasmus Højlund. He says, I think Rasmus Højlund has a lot of potential. If we improve the way we play the game, he will have more opportunities to score. He came here very young, and when you're young, to be the number 9 and play all the time, sometimes it's hard. It's everything together. Context is important. He then went on to say, we have to look at Højlund as a player. He has pace and he has the technique. He scores some goals that are really hard to score. Sometimes he doesn't choose the better run. Sometimes he's so anxious to touch the ball because he goes a lot of minutes without the ball and he moves away from the goal where he's supposed to be, especially in the final third. We address that in training, and sometimes it is the confidence of the player, but also the way we play. He then went on to say, I see it in training because we make exercises near the goal and he has the ability, and he's already showed it here. It's more of a team thing than a Rasmus thing. If we improve, Rasmus will improve. I have that feeling. And you know what? Kudos to the manager for actually saying that, because he's essentially, a lot of what he shares, I have shared that same sentiment. I always said I didn't think Rasmus Højlund should have been the starter for Manchester United, but I did kind of suggest that I do think he has the ability. It's just that sometimes his decision making is not there. And it's interesting that the manager talks about, the runs that he makes, because we've watched him a lot this season making the worst runs possible, or the wrong run every single time. We've seen him doing that on multiple different occasions, and the manager is kind of alluding that to be, number one, he's anxious. He's gone, quite a lot without the ball, and as a result, playing away from the goal for so long, he's lacking confidence, and that could definitely kind of explain. But also, I think the most important thing is, I don't care how good you are in training. If you are not okay, I do care how good you are in training, but equally, let me just rephrase that, is that if you are not applying whatever you're doing in training, I don't care what you do in training. Does that make sense? Like this idea that players who trained hard, for example, Erik ten Hag last season around, I think it was like around April times, Anthony came on ahead of Ahmad for a game. I can't remember exactly what game it was, but he came on ahead of Ahmad. Ahmad didn't come on. Then when he was asked after the game, he said that Anthony trains harder and trained better, so he deserved to start. But Anthony had no value on the pitch in the game, and that's why I'm necessarily saying that what you do on the training ground, unless you're applying it in game in the 90 minutes on the football pitch, it doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's like me studying for an exam, and I'm studying and I'm doing, say I got a maths exam and I'm studying algebra, I'm studying Pythagoras' theorem, I'm studying everything, but then when it comes to the exam, I can't apply myself. I ain't gonna pass the exam. What I've learned, if I'm not applying it in the exam when it really matters, it doesn't matter what I studied. It does not matter what I studied, and that's how I feel about Rasmus Højlund. But equally with saying that, I like the way that the manager is addressing this, because he's pointing out flaws that he's noticing, but I don't want to say he's making excuses for the flaws, but he's also kind of explaining why the player could potentially be making those decisions. For example, you know, when he touches the ball, he's got such a heavy touch, but he doesn't touch the ball a lot in the game. So when he does touch the ball, he's rusty. And I understand that. But equally, I'm putting all the blame for Rasmus Højlund's shortcomings at Manchester United. I'm putting all of that on Manchester United because they went and brought him with no kind of a development plan in place for him. And they gave him first the 11 shirt, then they gave him the number 9 shirt. I'm actually wearing number 9 on the back of my shirt today. Random fact, guys. But then they gave him the number 9 shirt, which again is 2 of the 3 heaviest numbers at Manchester United to wear in that front line. They haven't really helped him. Big up to Kadeem, newest member. Welcome to the Minion Gang. Big up, Kadeem. You get to use your badges, emojis, all of that kind of stuff. If you want to join the membership club just like Kadeem, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course, you get to support the growth of the channel on the way to 12.3k. I think we're on path to 12.3k right now. So big up to Kadeem. And if you want to support the channel in alternative ways, you can by sending in super chats with your comments, with your questions, with your thoughts, or just to show some love. Also help to reach the super chat goal for the stream. Ruben is saying what we see. He never knows when to stop short or go back post. It's true. It's true. He doesn't know how to do that. And again, this is my question for you guys. Do you think that that is just a lack of in-game decision making? Do you think that that's a lack of IQ? Or do you just think it's rash decisions that he's making out of, you know, his inability to anticipate potentially the ball that's coming in? Because there's so many times that I've watched him run near post when the ball is going back post, or he goes back post when the right choice is to come near post. And there's also times where he, like, I know this is a bad example, but I remember arguing this on UV a couple of years ago about Cristiano Ronaldo, and I was saying that even when Cristiano Ronaldo didn't have the ball at Man United, his ability to drag defenders away kind of opened up space for players. Højlund doesn't really do that. You know, there's times where I've seen, you know, Garnacho or Ahmad or Bruno on the ball in the final third, just in front of the back line, and he will just be there static. Like, he might as well just have his hands on his hips because he's waiting for the pass, but he's not making a move. And as a result, the back line, the opponent's back line in particular, they have the opportunity to kind of get themselves in formation and kind of be kind of solid in their backline, you know, because they're not being forced to shift right or shift left because of any movement from the striker. And I think if you're not gonna play with the ball to feet, if you are not gonna make runs, just make movements that will move the backline around, because then you will open up passing lanes, you will open up opportunities for runs from other players in your team. And that's why I say an all-rounded centre forward does that kind of stuff, because for me it's not even the fact that Højlund is struggling to score you know, 2 goals in the Premier League so far. It's not even that. For me, it's the all-roundedness of his gameplay. You know, the hold-up play is lacking. You know, the off-the-ball ability is non-existent. You know, he's making the wrong decision when it comes to making runs. And when he does make runs and the ball finds him, he's making the wrong decision there. I remember, what game was it? Was it I think it was the most recent game against Everton. He tried to make a run in behind, and when the ball found him, he just nearly ran out of play with it. Like, he's just head down, just woof, road runner, running with the ball. And that is for me the like, when you don't offer anything else, if you weren't scoring, but you know, your hold up play was good, you know, your ability to kind of hold the ball up and get the link up involved and make runs in behind and stretch the back line. If you could do all of that, I'm not saying I'm going to look past the goals, because you're a striker. Essentially, your role is to score. However, I think the criticisms will be a lot less, and I also don't think that a lot of other aspects don't help. The price tag doesn't help. You know, when he did score, and one thing I don't like, and this is not aimed at Højlund, it's just aimed at United players just in general. Like, I hate when they post online because it becomes the topic of conversation online. Garnacho posted on Instagram after the Everton game on his story. I think he posted a picture of himself and he said, much better second half. And this led to a discourse about, oh, is he indirecting his teammates because he came on second half and United ended up drawing? I'm like, again, guys, because I feel like as fans this season, everybody is on edge. Like, the fan base is on edge. The fan base, like, anybody says anything, people are ready to criticize and people are ready to challenge and people are sometimes ready to get personal. We are living on edge this season, and it doesn't even feel like it's coming to an end anytime soon, because we're playing Ipswich this evening And why do I have a strong feeling that out of all the games that are on today, this is going to be the humiliating one? It's stressing me out. I think so. It's also a lack of trust and communication. Amorim saying all that doesn't matter. Does these guys communicate with each other, e.g., where they want the ball? I can't speak for all of them, but I've watched, for example, the difference in Patrick Dogu's involvement in the game when he has Bruno as a left 10 versus when he has Garnacho as a left 10. Just compare the last two games, guys, that Garnacho played as a left 10 and Bruno played as a left 10, and think of the difference in terms of the involvement of Patrick Dogu day and night. Dembele struggled early but became a Ballon d'Or contender now. Højlund, like him, has talent but needs refinement and time. Yusuf, come on, don't do this, Yusuf. Dembele was a talent at Dortmund. He was an amazing talent at Dortmund. I can't say that Højlund was an amazing talent at Atalanta. Because when we talk about Højlund, we don't talk about what we brought. We talk about the potential that we brought. Whereas when Dembele was at Dortmund, it wasn't about potential. Bro, it was not about the potential. He was an amazing player at that point. Or not amazing, but he was a very good player. And Dembele, I think, has always had that talent. And he's been an important part of his national team. I think he was still good at Barcelona, despite the fact that some people might feel like it didn't work out. And right now, yeah, you're talking about Ousmane. Yeah, I know you're talking about Ousmane Dembele. They're laughing in the chat, but I'm just shocked that out of all the players, you want to compare him to Ousmane Dembele. Ousmane Dembele was always going to be a star. That's it. I think Højlund's the thing with Højlund is that I think he's been fast tracked from Atalanta. I think he had to go to another club before he came to United. Like if he went to like a Benfica or maybe a Stuttgart, or like one of the European, no, I don't want to say they're not the big dogs, but they still have some weight in Europe, right? Where he could have got a lot of playing time, get the chance to develop, be under a good coaching strategies and mechanisms, and most importantly, just have no weight on his shoulders. Had he been able to do that, then go to a team after that, I think the trajectory of his career might have panned out differently. Oh man, I can't believe he said Dembele. That's jokes. Bar him being so rubbish, I think Højlund's worst flaw is that he's not a big game player too. Ten Hag benched him in our biggest game last season. I can't even say, bro, whether he's a big game player or not. I don't even think he's a middle game player. Like I would like a game like today, for example. The fact that United have nobody is probably what's saving grace for him. Like the fact that they don't have many attacking options. So Højlund will always see the pitch. He will always see the pitch. However, I do have a feeling that the summer plans might change for Manchester United when it comes to the striker situation. Like generally speaking, I think it might change. Monty asked me something in the chat just now. Let me actually bring it up on screen. But actually, just quickly before we actually go to what Monty was saying, because he was talking about Xerxes, and I want to talk about Xerxes. Look at this, guys. Shout out to the Athletic. You lot know me. You know I love a good graph. Guys. I'm going to describe this graph for you guys, and we're going to go through it, which kind of summarizes Højlund in comparison to other strikers. Because I was having this conversation with my friend the other day who's an Arsenal fan, and I was saying to we were talking about Højlund, and my friend rates Højlund. I don't know what it is, but my friend rates Højlund to be a starter. And we were talking about whether Højlund would start for any other Premier League team. And that's a genuine question to you guys. And it's not me shitting on him. It's not, pause. It's not me trying to drag him through the mud. It's not me trying to, pile on him or anything. It's just a genuine question to you guys. Do you guys think that Højlund would start for any other team in the Premier League? Because I was watching yesterday, Chelsea versus Southampton. I was watching Bournemouth versus Brighton. I thought Brighton, nah. Bournemouth, nah. Forget all the top 6 teams. Nottingham Forest, nah. Brentford, nah. Fulham, nah. Leicester, even no. I'll take Jamie Vardy over him. Leicester, nah. There's not really any teams that I felt like, you know what, Højlund could be a contender. However, this graph here kind of backs up what Ruben Amorim is suggesting. Højlund is not involved in any build-up play for Manchester United, which, like I said, if you ain't scoring, if you're not scoring, your all-roundedness in terms of other attributes that you add to the team, it needs to be on show. This is Højlund. Højlund is the red one in each kind of category. And then there's percentages. So the first kind of metric is the percentage of big chance involvements. Højlund is involved the least out of all the strikers in the league in terms of the big chances that Manchester. So Man United are, say, creating 10 big chances. Højlund is involved in 10% of that, one. Erling Haaland, in contrast, for Manchester City, is involved in over 40% of that. Now, involvement in build-up. Højlund is involved in less than 1% of Manchester United's build-up. And the next highest striker, or the highest striker in the Premier League right now, is Alexander Isak, who's involved in about 2.5%. So you see that strikers are not immensely involved, but they do have some weighting contribution. And this is, for me, the kind of, this is the damning part, is the percentage of involvement in counterattacks. Højlund is involved in less than 5%, the second lowest out of the strikers in the league, in comparison to Alexander Isak, who's the highest. Newcastle play in transition, we know that, but also, he's fast, he can dribble, he can stretch the back line, he can come off the left, he can come off the right, he can go through the middle, and he's involved in over 10% of Newcastle's counter-attack involvements. If we talk about creation and just the overall creation involvements, Højlund has the worst percentage involvement for creations. Alexander Isak is the highest. Alexander Isak seems to be the highest in everything. And then last but not least, the progression involvement, i.e. progressing the ball forward. Is he involved in Manchester United's ability to progress the ball? No, he's not. Less than 4%. The average for most strikers we see here is about 6%. Alexander Isak is the one that is flying through it all. Over 8% of his over 8% of Newcastle's progression involvements comes at the hands of Alexander Isak. This is just the kind of graph for me that just summarizes everything that is lacking. Now, it's not the fact that Man United are not having counter-attack opportunities. It's not the fact that Manchester United are not able to build up. It's not the fact that Manchester United are unable to progress the ball. It's the fact that Rasmus Højlund is a ghost or a passenger in this. Of course, your confidence is going to be low in that case. You're not getting in front. You're not getting any chances created for you. And outside of that, if you do feel like, your only thing is to score, that's when you become a net negative to the team. Because if you're not scoring, you are contributing nothing else. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Someone said I feel sorry for, I'm starting to feel sorry for Højlund. He's statistically in the ghetto. I do feel bad for him, but also it's one of them ones where it's not that I don't want to say it's a dog eat dog world, but the manager is persistent with him, and the more you persist with him, if the player can't dig himself out of this grave, if he can't dig himself out of this problem, then it's just fundamentally, it's just going to get worse. It's going to get worse as it kind of goes on and on and on. You don't have to look at the stats. The eye test tells it all. He lacks the fundamentals. I think, like I said, I think Højlund skipped a stage. Have any of you guys skipped a year in school? Because it's a thing, like, in the UK, you can skip a year in primary school, but then what happens is that you get held back in your final year of primary school so that you're the same age as everyone when you go to high school. But it's like me skipping a year in school, and then when I go to the next year, I'm dumb as hell because I skipped a year. So I missed all the development that I would have made in that school year. I feel like he skipped a stage in his development by going from Atalanta to Manchester United, with Manchester United not having an environment at all to develop players outside of the academy. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. Is there any player that you feel that Manchester United has brought over this past 5 years? Let's say the last 5 years. Is there any player that Manchester United has brought that you feel that has been developed outside of the academy? And don't tell me Ahmad, because Ahmad was brought for the academy. So he went through the academy system at United, despite the fact that he didn't join at the age of 8 or 9. He still went through the development stage of the academy. Rasmus Højlund came in for the first team, skipped that development kind of process, and now is struggling. And I'm thinking, okay, if Aiden Heaven is going to go down that same path, is the same thing going to happen to him? Is the same thing going to happen to him? The only difference is I think Aiden Heaven has some involvement in the under-21s team, which could be, again, a different experience for him than what Rasmus Højlund is experiencing. And given the fact that there's a lot of centre-backs at Manchester United, I think, that you can learn from. Oh, in South Africa, you don't get held back. Okay. Yeah, in the UK, you get held back so that you can be the same age as everybody in school. I know a few people that it happened to, so like they repeated the year twice. He has the ability, but the confidence is low. The team does not help him. Stats aren't needed for his involvement in counterattacks. We can see he doesn't win his aerial duels. That's another big problem, I think, the aerial duels. Why I feel sorry. Højlund is rich and famous. He's better off than 99.9% of us. That's true. He is rich. He is famous. He's still a person at the end of the day. Like, if you were at work, the thing is, right, every one of us here works, or I hope we all work. Most of us work. Everyone here works. If you are underperforming at work, you and I, we don't get paid a lot like footballers, number one. But number two, it's a damning experience to be belittled at work. So imagine you F up at work and now your picture's in the newspaper and what you've done wrong is in the newspaper. And now everyone's talking about you, not just in work, outside of work. Millions of people are talking about you. Millions of people are talking about you and criticizing you. And, people take it personal sometimes with footballs where they insult them and they call them, a bum and they call them this and that. I'm always here for, open criticism and, identifying what players are doing wrong. But the second that you start to get personal and you start to insult a player, that's whack. Like, I think that's whack. Eat the rich is mad. Eat the rich is crazy. The Danish football media cooks Højlund daily. No way. I don't keep up with the Danish media, so I would have no idea about that. Let's talk about, somebody just brought it up in the eat the rich. That is actually making me laugh, guys. That's really, really making me laugh. Let's talk about these guys in it, because it's not a stream. It's not a stream if I don't talk about Ineos, if I don't talk about Jim Ratcliffe, if I don't talk about Barada. It's not a stream. And Natty here just brought it up. A cost cutting, is it work in football to get back to the top? Obviously, the topic of conversation has been the staff reductions at Manchester United. Now, it's been reported today that the reason why Dan Ashworth, or one of the reasons why Dan Ashworth was let go, was because he did not agree with the redundancies. He did not agree. He was against redundancies at Manchester United. He believed that it would be a bad decision and it would also impact the first team. Now, again, I've seen so many different opinions about this. And I don't know, maybe am I too understanding sometimes? Because I absolutely agree with Dan Ashworth. We sat on the red carpet the other day, and and I said it at the time, I couldn't believe people were justifying redundancies. Like, people who are just like people who are just like us. And I'm saying us because I'm assuming everyone is similar. We're all working class people. We are all average Joes. We live day to day making a living, right? Being made redundant is never a good thing. I don't care how it is possibly made, packaged, sold. I don't care about all of those metrics. It is never a good thing to experience redundancies. Never. And not at the expense. And this is why I don't like the way that is being packaged and sold by Manchester United and Omar Barada. This transformation project the transformation project. That's what the press release kind of suggested, and how important it was to do this reshuffle that will allow Manchester United to reallocate finances to their transfer budget. They're selling these redundancy plans as a kind of, hey guys, we're going to make 400 people redundant, but don't worry, we have to do this in order to spend in the summer transfer window. We have to do this to be back at the top and be a great club again. We have to get rid of 400 people because we need to save money somewhere. And this is why I said it's hypocrisy. It's hypocrisy, because now you care about saving money and cutting costs, but when it was the big decisions like the Erik ten Hag contract extension, you didn't think about the financial implications that it would have. When you were happy to pay for, if it went to court, Manchester United under Jim Ratcliffe was happy to pay for Dan Ashworth's legal fees to get him out of his Newcastle contract. They were happy. They were happy to do that. They ended up paying Newcastle, and it didn't go to a tribunal in the end. But they were happy to do it. They could put their money where their mouth is because they so badly wanted him in. Then they paid for his release or whatever it was, and then they had to pay him to leave. But that is not the financial implication. That's not where you're trying to cut costs. What you're trying to do is, again, we've made some bad decisions and now we have to pay for those bad decisions. 400 people made redundant, guys, is a lot of people. That is a lot of people. I know people personally at Manchester United who have lost their jobs. I know people who have worked there for many, many years, 10 plus years, and they have lost their jobs there. It's never a nice thing for people to lose their job, nor is it if you are a working class citizen that essentially in a cost of living crisis and where the job market in the UK right now is dire, guys. It's really bad. I know people that have been looking for jobs for months. It's a struggle out there. It's never a good thing. And I don't care how it's packaged. And also what I don't like, and I said this, I think Jim Ratcliffe is a hypocrite because in one breath, he wants to encourage the government to help with this project, this regeneration project, because it's going to create hundreds of jobs for the Manchester working class. But then in that same breath, you are pushing for redundancies to save money because you made bad decisions. Equally, I will say Glazers are a big problem of it. 100%, they're a big problem of it. But I just cannot look past the bad decisions that Ineos have made in the last 12 months. That's my point. I can't look past it. Are you saying that the redundancies wouldn't have happened if they didn't sack Erik ten Hag or Ashworth? No, I am saying that you cannot package the way they're selling these redundancies, is they're saying that these redundancies have to happen in order for Man United to make moves in the transfer market. They are manipulating fans to think this is a good thing. Oh, guys, look, if I get rid of 400 people, we will have money to spend in the transfer window. But my argument is that where was that logic when you were happy to make poor decisions about Erik ten Hag and Dan Ashworth? Where was that logic when you were happy to throw away 14 million and getting rid of Ashworth and Erik ten Hag and his backroom staff? That 14 million would have made a lot of difference in the January transfer window. Maybe Man United would have been able to bring in a low-knee attacking player, but they weren't able to do that because of bad decision making in the summer. That is my point, and I hope you lot are understanding what my point is. Let me see what else you lot are saying. I hate that word redundant. It makes people associated with the club seem disposable, if not means to an end. Facts. I don't really like that term either. The Glazers are the only party gaining from this, as Ineos has to do this and they can just collect their dividends. And we all know that those 400 employees isn't the reason that our team sucks on the field. Exactly that. They're making it seem that, when we fix this, we will be better on the pitch. What happens when we're still shit? What about the debt? I thought Ineos will pay that off. Ineos never made a kind of pitch in their ethos when they were making their bid for the club about the debt. They've injected cash into the club, but that's just to keep the club running. It's not to clear the debt. Why would Ineos clear the debt of a club that they don't even own 100%? They are minority owners. And you know what, guys? It's funny because it's not funny because it's a situation that sucks. The fact that the Glazers took leveraged debt and I think it's 797 million that they brought the club for. 789 of that, so less than 10 million. They paid less than 10 million. The rest of that was leveraged debt, and they put it all on the club. Then on top of that, the club is accumulating interest year on year. Imagine that, 20 years of debt of over 700 million. You guys can imagine what the interest is probably like, right? You can imagine what the interest is probably like on there. So that in itself, all of that, now clubs cannot be brought in the same way that the Glazers brought Manchester United because of that. It's the Glazer rule. It's the Glazer rule. Because of what the Glazers have done. And on top of all of that, when you take into consideration all of that, guys, Ineos, for me, I said this, I remember saying this back a year ago on UV. I remember saying this a year ago on UV. I was told to be optimistic, be patient, etc. I said that I couldn't trust Ineos because they jumped into bed with the Glazers. They gave them a way out. The Glazers wanted somebody that would sit in front of the firing line for them and take all the criticisms. And they have done that for them. The Glazers now are not, forced to go to games. Not that they were before, but then people are not focused on them anymore. People are not focused on, because everyone's focus is Ineos. And on top of that, Ineos line the pockets of the Glazers and will continue to line the pockets of the Glazers. The more profitable or non-profitable that Manchester United is, regardless, I think the Glazers will take their dividends. They will take their dividends. So do you know how crazy it is to think that you took a loan to buy a club, so you didn't even spend any money. Then you're taking money out of the club because you own the club. And then you're selling a percentage of the club for nearly probably what I think is double what it was probably worth for that percentage. And you're still making money. And you probably don't even have to go to work anymore. You've saved yourself so much money. And on top of that, if the Glazers do choose to sell, reportedly, there is a clause in the takeover agreement with Ineos that first kind of rights doesn't have to go to Ineos. If somebody comes with the 10 billion valuation that the Glazers have for the club, they could just sell it to them and Ineos can be forced to sell. Ineos can be forced to sell their share. Jim Ratcliffe, for me, is probably... he's not the worst thing that has happened to Manchester United because the Glazers are literally there. But he is, for me, not remotely reassuring. And maybe you guys might not agree with me. I don't know. Ineos is a bulletproof vest for the Glazers. Yep. Yeah, pretty much. But anyways, enough about them. Let's actually talk about other actual football, guys. Hey, it's been a long time since I've seen these two. It is a long time since I've seen these two. It's been over a year since Luke Shaw last started a game for Manchester United. And it's also been, what? Mason Mount has started 9 games for Man United since joining. Ruben Amorim said on Luke Shaw that he does not have a date for his return. However, he's still doing rehab. On Mason Mount, he said Mason Mount is closer than Luke Shaw, but we don't have a specific return date. So has to be the funniest report, guys. Is saying a whole load of nothing. At the same time, he's saying something. If there is anyone that is stealing a living at Man United, it's these two, man. It's these two. Mason Mount, bro, I genuinely think, by the way, I remember saying it. I said I was going to give him a chance when he first joined Man United, but I can't. Luke Shaw, I already shared my opinion about him. I shared it on Sky Sports when I was on Saturday Social. At the time, Bruno Fernandes, I think, has played more games than him, despite the fact that he's been here half of the time that he's been here. Do you know how blasphemous that is? That if Ineos want to cut costs, bro, look here first. Surely, if you're on, I don't know what football's like, but in the world of the UK, like in the corporate world, if you are off sick for a long time, yeah, you get a thing called statutory sick pay, which is basically peanuts. You don't get your full salary for the month. You get basically next to nothing. I feel like football should incorporate something similar, where if you are out injured, like, not if you've like torn your ACL or you've broken your leg or whatever. If you're just like Mason Mount, where it's just this mystery injury that you keep getting every so often, after a certain point, you should be on statutory sick pay, because there's no way in hell he should be allowed to be on 250 a week or 300 a week, however much he's on, yeah? And he's only started 9 games for Manchester United in nearly 2 seasons. That should be illegal. I'm going to write to the FA. I'm going to write to the FA and ask them to start introducing statutory sick pay for players. There should be something in your contract where if you're signing an injury-prone players, maybe football clubs should do this. If you're signing a player that has a history of injury problems, you should put it in their contract that if they miss a certain number of games, they go on statutory sick pay. Statutory sick pay is like £60 a week, I think, like in the UK. It's not even that much. Luke Shaw, his contract should have been terminated a long time ago. Any serious club, in my opinion, would have terminated both of their contracts. And I don't want to hear this nonsense about on his day, because we were criticizing Paul Pogba, and everyone was saying on his day. Martial was criticized for his inability to stay fit. A lot of players at Manchester United were criticized for 50% of what Luke Shaw's given. But if they get sick because or while on work, is there a difference? I'm not sure, I think it depends where you work. So like if you work in public sector, like the NHS or teacher, I think you can get your full salary for like 6 months if you're off sick, if your doctor signed you off sick. Whereas if you work in like private sector, it's up to the company, I think, after a certain number of weeks, regardless of whether you got sick at work. Or if you get sick at work, I don't know. Because I know in some jobs, if you die whilst at work, your family get money. I don't know. Guys, I actually don't know. Let me see what you lot are saying. Only time I seen these two in the new kits was in the trailer for the season. Luke Shaw's last game, only game that he played was Ipswich. It was Ruben Amorim's first game. Mount played a lot of games from a young age, and that is the reason he can't be fit for a long duration, and United had to consider this before signing him. So that's my point. Why did they sign him? I remember being baited in the summer because it was reported that Liverpool wanted him. And I feel like once United realized, Liverpool might want him. And at the time, I think Arsenal was getting Declan Rice. They thought, yeah, let's do a hijack. That ain't no hijack, man. There was no one there. No one was buying him. We just did them a favor. 60 million as well. Like, when we're saying 60 million down the drain, Tony Martial scores again. That 60 million song, it should be about Mason Mount, because that is actually 60 million down the drain. If you want to know, Ineos, where the money has been going, look no further than the hospital room at Carrington. I'm not sure about UK law, but in South African law, we have legislation regarding how much unpaid and paid sick leave you can get. UK is kind of similar, depending on if you're in the private or the public sector. If you're in the private sector, I think it's up to the firm. I remember many years ago when I had surgery and I was working, I was off work for 5 weeks. 1 week I was in hospital, like having surgery and then recovering from surgery. 4 weeks I was at home. I was on statutory sick pay for, I think, 2 of those weeks. 60 million plus wages and medical bill. Clubs definitely need to add a clause where players are paid a certain percentage if they are injured ill. 100%. And I don't want to be like, it's punishing players, but it's also saving yourself. It's, as a team, it's an investment. Players are an asset. They are an investment. If you aren't getting in, it's like me buying a house today, but I can't live in the house because the house is made of straw and it's really windy outside. What's the point on having an investment and having an asset if you can't use it and utilize it, especially in the context of football? And when Manchester United are going through this injury situation that they are going through right now, especially in the midfield, players like Mason Mount, or maybe a player had United signed instead of Mount, would have been utilized and they would have been useful. I still can't forgive Erik ten Hag for giving Mount the number 7. Well, you know what, guys? I think we're going to look back in like 5 years' time and be like, did Mason Mount really play for Man United? Like, he's going to be one of them players where we're going to be like, did he actually play for Man United? Like, because I'm hoping that United get rid of him so we could look back on it and be like, yo, what the hell? Sure, Mount must be sold this summer if possible. I don't know if it's possible. Do you guys think it's possible for both of them to be sold? I think, given the fact that they're both on heavy wages, Luke Shaw's contract, I think, finishes in 2027. Man United contracts. Let's see the contracts for Man United players. Luke Shaw, 2027. That's when his contract expires. Mason Mount, 2028. We still got a long way to go to there. 2028, we're meant to be contending for the title, according to Omar Barada. We will not be doing that. We will not be doing that with freeloaders on the team. Is Mount a shirt seller or something? Why would they give him number 7? Seems like poor business. There is no way in hell Man United gave him number 7 to sell shirts. I ain't never seen anyone wear a Mason Mount shirt in my life. Wallahi, I've been to Old Trafford in the last 2 seasons that he's been here. I've been to Old Trafford like 10 times, maybe 11. I have not seen anybody wearing a Mason Mount shirt. I've seen more people wearing Garnacho shirts than I've seen Mason Mount shirts. Like, if I'm being very honest, I actually think that they don't have to restock it in the mega store because nobody ever actually takes it off. No one actually takes a shirt down, so they never have to restock the shirts for Mason Mount. Whereas I think players like Garnacho, Bruno, Ahmad, I feel like those shirts are always flying off the rails. So they're always restocking it in the mega store. Advice to you, Minna, don't pay for a season ticket. Bro, if I could get a season ticket, I would have been on the waiting list for like 8 years now. 9 years. I've been on the waiting list, waiting for a season ticket. I get lucky in ballots a lot. I got lucky in the Arsenal ballot, so that's good. I didn't get lucky in the City ballot. Other than that, I just buy the tickets, you know, when they're available. However, the thought of paying £66 for tickets, I'm like, nah. Not worth it. I would love to have a season. I'd love to be a season ticket holder, but yeah. They called me, I remember, like at the end of last season. Man United's ticket office called me and I thought it was a prank because they were like to me, do you want to pay a deposit to bump you up the waiting list? And the amount for the deposit was basically half of a season ticket. I was like, get out of here, man. If it's not guaranteeing me a season ticket, why would I pay that? Why would I pay that if it's not guaranteeing me? Ruben Amorim was asked about Patrick Dogu, and he said, I'm happy with Patrick because he has the abilities we look for with him during what I saw at Lecce. He has the physicality, he has the technique, and he's better playing on the left side, like you guys said. I don't know if he's taking the piss. I generally don't know if he's taking the piss out of the journalists or what. But here's something, guys. Here is something for Manchester United season. The left-hand side is the first 11 games of the season under Ten Hag and Ruud van Nistelrooy, and then the next 15 games of the season under Ruben Amorim. And this is the number of changes per a game. Yeah, you lot know, man. I love a graph. I love a graph. So you see on the left-hand side of the bar graph, it shows the number of lineup changes for the game. And then the bottom shows you what number. So Ruben Amorim, from his first game, which was Ipswich, he made 3 changes from the previous game. He made 3 changes. But just look at the number of changes that he makes when he doesn't make a lot of changes the game before. Does that make sense? For example, his 3rd game of the season, look at this. He made 6 changes. The game before that, he didn't make many changes. It goes less, and then it increases again. Less, and then it increases again. Is that erratic? I don't know. I don't know if it's erratic in terms of, because making 6 changes is rotation for me. That is a manager that is rotating. Also, we have to take into consideration, there's no context here, but we have to take into consideration any midweek games, any Europa League games or Carabao Cup, whatever. Any midweek games we have to take into consideration because that would also explain rotation. But it's also interesting to me that Ruud van Nistelrooy for the latter stages of his games kind of went with the same lineups. And Erik ten Hag. This is both of them. The same lineup. They made one change each. Ruben Amorim is yet to make only one change from the lineup before that. Which, for me, that is kind of telling that he hasn't really found what works for him completely in the team. And that's my opinion. He hasn't found the starting 11 that has worked completely. And I also wonder sometimes, will you be able to find some consistency in your lineup as players if you are not playing consistently together? Does that make sense? If the lineup is changing regularly every league game, there's at least, it looks like the minimum 2 or 3 changes at the least every game. If you can't have a consistent, I think the back line has changed non-stop. There was a run of spells where I think the midfield didn't change for a couple of games. The front line is ever changing. The only real confirmation that we know is Onana is going to play in goal all the time. And I hope he doesn't flip and make a mistake today. But I do kind of think about the opportunity of consistency in the team. And maybe Ruben Amorim has not yet found it. Potter used to have crazy changes game to game. Damn. Wasn't he saying the changes were for fitness reasons at the beginning? He did say that. I don't think he said it was fitness. I thought it's not even just the beginning though. Look at like the last games 10 to 15. At least 2 to 3 changes every single game. 2 changes this game, 3 changes this game, 3 changes again, 2, 5. Like there is consistent change in the lineup. But also injuries doesn't help as well. Injuries is a big part of that. Injuries really does not help. We got a fun game. We got a fun game in about 2 hours or so. Be sure to hit the like button, guys. We got over 80-something people here. We don't even have 80 likes. Like, how? That doesn't even make sense, guys. That doesn't make sense. How can we have less likes than people? I didn't think you guys were like that. I don't. In my language, we say hasid. In my language, we say hasid, which means stingy. Or it means a lot of other stuff. Don't be stingy, guys. Do not be stingy. Hit the like button. But let's talk about... bro, I'm not looking forward to this game. I just looked at the predicted lineups, guys. I just looked at the predicted lineups and I just remembered, there was a youngster called Philogene that ran riot against us. Hutchinson. Ugarte is going to maybe get sent off. I don't know. But anyways, let's talk about the Ipswich game. Because between Man United and Ipswich, I don't know who needs to win the most. Who needs to win the most? Look at the form of both teams. Both teams, look at our form. Let me zoom in a little bit. Look at our form. And this is in all competitions, guys. We've won 2, lost 2, drawn 1. They've lost 3, won 1, drawn 1. You're not saying we do. They are literally in a relegation battle. They are literally in a relegation battle. Who would have thought, guys, in big 2025, a game against Ipswich for us would be a 6-pointer must win. I mean, we already drew the first one. Who would have thought that I would be looking at this game thinking, this is a must win? I was talking to my sister today. Shout out to my sister. She's a United fan. We're talking about the games on today. And she was like to me, I don't think I'm going to watch the United game. She was like, I'm probably going to watch Liverpool versus Newcastle. It's going to be the better game. I know people, by the way, do you know how many people were selling their tickets for this game? To a point where some people wanted to give it away for free. Some people were even saying, take this off my hands for free. I just don't want it to go to waste. By the way, can I just say, no player at Manchester United has more goals than Liam Delap in the Premier League so far. No player. Liam Delap has 10 goals in the Premier League. Our closest is Bruno with 6 and Ahmad. I think Ahmad got 5. Combined, they just about beat Delap. I can't believe what is saving Manchester United right now, because I'm just looking at the table, right? What is really saving Manchester United right now, and I say this all the time, is the bottom three are so bad. And I don't know. I want to hear you lot's thoughts quickly, yeah, because whoa, why did I just zoom in like that? I want to hear you guys' thoughts quickly, yeah, just on the bottom three in the Premier League. Because last year, the bottom three that came up were the same bottom three that went down. This year, again, the bottom three that come up are the same bottom three that's going down. What is the problem? What is the problem for teams coming up from the Championship and their inability to make strides in the Premier League? Do they need to do what Brentford, etc. did, where the first couple of seasons they just need to focus on staying up and then focus on competing? Because I tweeted it saying yesterday I was watching Bournemouth versus Brighton. 14 years ago, Bournemouth versus Brighton was being played in League One. So in 14 years, they managed not only to come up to the Premier League, but to compete to a point where teams are scared to play Bournemouth. United, we are scared to play Brighton. We ain't beat them in how long? We have not beat them in how long? So what is the issue? Because you lot are saying quality in the chat. I think maybe it's like even the way that they're navigating the league. I think that they're a lot of the time they should just be focused on sweating out wins or sweating out results, and just in your first year, just focus on staying up. Just focus on staying up. Because Southampton, I'm sorry, are the worst team. I thought there couldn't be a worse team than the last time Southampton were in the league. But they've actually beat themselves. Luton, by the way, got promoted last season, got relegated, and now they're sitting bottom of Championship. They're on their way to League One next season. And just 2 seasons before that, they were in the Premier League. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. But let me just back on the topic just quickly. The only reason why United are not in a relegation battle, guys, is because these 3 teams suck. If the relegation scrap, yeah, let's be honest, Wolves, if they win their next game, if they win a couple of their games, they've got that cushion of staying up. I think these 3 are going to be guaranteed to go down. I think Ipswich will go down. I think, Southampton's definitely going down. I think Leicester's going down. Ruud van Nistelrooy, I don't know why he ever took that job. I don't know why the hell he took that job, but he will be going down. But what is saving Manchester United, in my opinion, is the fact that those teams suck. So that this whole, every time people say, oh my God, Man United are in a relegation battle. We're not in a relegation battle. We're not in a relegation battle. We could have been, but we're not. But just quickly on that note, guys, predictions for tonight. What are your predictions for Man United versus Ipswich? We are playing at home. Let me see if there's any actually match day news, because I know there's not really been any leaks. Nah, I think we know what will be the case. I think we'll know what's the case. I'm gonna say like 0-0 maybe. What, I think it could be a 1-1 again, guys. I think it could be a 1-1 again. Well, the standards are in the mud. If we can draw against Everton, we can draw against Ipswich. I can't believe that's a real comment. That actually made me laugh. Yo, that actually made me laugh. 1-1, 2-2. Damn, OJ saying 3-1 Ipswich. Peter saying 2-2. Everyone's saying a draw. 2-2 or 1-1 is the most that I'm seeing. If we score first, 2-0, and not, if not, then it's going to be a draw. Fun fact, guys. Fun fact, yeah, because this comment says if we score first. Man United have not scored in open play in the Premier League since Nottingham Forest, guys. Go look at how long ago we played Nottingham Forest. In the first half of the Premier League, Manchester United have not scored in the first half of the Premier League since Nottingham Forest in open play. Before that, or including that, the next one would have been Brighton in January when Bruno scored a penalty. We do not score in the first half. So if United score in the first half today, we're winning. If we score in the first half today, Manchester United are winning. I I feel like we're always catching up to draw. Yeah, I do feel that. Look how close it is between the 10 up to the top 5. It's almost as we should have kept Ten Hag. He might have turned it around. Yeah, I think there's like, I know between like 8th to 3rd or 4th is like 4 points or something. We scored 2 goals in the first half since Amorim took over. Are you being serious? That's crazy. I am interested to see, though, Delap versus Maguire. It's going to be scary. And the reason why it's scary is because Ruben Amorim likes his centre-backs to play tight to the strikers, where if they drop, like, go to them. Maguire ain't got the recovery pace. Liam Delap will burst him out. I'm actually kind of scared. I'm scared about that thing. Just quickly on transfer news, though, because this guy's name's popping up again. Fabrizio Romano reporting that Victor Osimhen is interested in a move to Manchester United. However, with United likely having to respect his weekly wage and agree a fee with Napoli, it's not a deal that can be struck this month. I mean, who the hell thought that a deal would be struck this month? However, the Napoli director has confirmed that Victor Osimhen has a release clause in his contract. And he then said, we're working to find a solution as soon as possible to avoid a late transfer as happened this summer. Manchester United are also interested in Victor Osimhen. I would love Osimhen at United. But he's on 260k a week. And can I just say that he was meant to join Chelsea in the summer, didn't end up joining Chelsea, fell out with his owners. Lo and behold, finds himself in Turkey, but he's still a quality striker. Anybody, in my opinion, that looks at Victor Osimhen and turns their nose up at him when we don't even have a striker in double-digit goals this season in all competitions, then you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. There is no way. There's so many players out there that there is no way that we can turn our noses up at them. And that is my argument as well about Liam Delap. Liam Delap is much better than what Manchester United has. However, people turn their nose up at him because he's at Ipswich. He demands that fee because he's not unproven minute. He's a rarity in football these days for his age. 100%. And also, one thing I like about Osimhen is he creates chances for himself. My guy will shoot from anywhere. He'll take shots. He's good in the box. He's a proper box player. Better than what Manchester United have right now. And if Napoli don't want to get into a situation where it's late in the transfer window and they haven't made a decision on him and they haven't found a destination, I hope Man United and Napoli can resolve that ASAP. I'm saying, like, what's the maximum fee you would pay for him? I love this guy at Porto, Omarodian. He is a baller. And he's like 20. I think he's like 20 years old or something. He's really good. But I don't know why. I just feel like he's going to end up at Chelsea. I don't know why. I just have a theory. Well, what's the maximum fee? I know that he's got a release clause, but reportedly he also has a gentleman's agreement with Napoli in terms of if the right fee comes in, but it's not the release clause, that Napoli will be willing to sell him. I think anything, United could pay like 65 for him. 65 million pounds. Because I think Victor Gyökeres as well has a fee around that price as well. I think Gyökeres has a fee around that price. The high-end strikers, like the Alexander Isaks, he's going for 150 in the summer if he leaves Newcastle. He's going for 120, 130, 140. But in an economy as well, in a transfer window, that a lot of I think quite a few English teams will be looking for strikers. United will be looking for one. I think Chelsea will be looking for one. I think Arsenal will be looking for one. Who else? I think Liverpool will be looking for one. A lot of teams will be looking for strikers. A lot of teams. So they have to, in my opinion, United need to go out. United need to go out and resolve it quickly. That kid bullied our centre backs until they were all subbed when we were chasing the game against Porto back in like October times. If they're still willing to buy Garnacho, considering they'll have Champions League money next season, it's a deal we shouldn't miss. And they got the money from Kvaratskhelia, man. Them man got money. They got money. I think the deal will include Højlund or Garnacho. Yeah, dash Højlund in there. I don't think that would be a bad shout. I don't think that would be a bad shout. Listen, guys, we're less than 24 away from 100 likes. So if you haven't hit the like button, make sure you hit the like button on your way out, man. You lot know the rules, man. You come in, you wipe your feet, you say hi to everyone in the chat, and then you hit the like button and you get involved in the conversation. Kickoff is about 2 hours and 8 minutes away. So lineups won't be out for like another hour, unfortunately, and I'm not going to stay live just to wait for the lineups. But you lot know after the game, we'll have a reaction video uploaded immediately. So make sure you lot check that out. Turn on your post notifications. So every time I post a video, which is practically every other day now. So every time I post a video, make sure you guys turn on your post notifications so that when I upload, you lot get notified. Be sure to hit the like button. Minna, do you rate Evan Nilsson at Bournemouth? Yeah, I liked him when he was at, I think he was at Porto. Because he was playing with Taremi as well. I like him. I like Utara as well. Utara at Bournemouth is pretty good. But listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button on your way out. You lot know the rules. Be sure to subscribe as well if you are new here and you have not subscribed. We'll have match reactions for Manchester United and maybe for Liverpool versus Newcastle. And Nottingham Forest and Arsenal. Maybe. No promises, but maybe. Hit the like button on your way out, guys. I hope you have a wonderful evening. Predictions, I ain't giving one. I'm not giving a prediction, man. But I'll see you lot for the match analysis after the game. I'm out, guys. Have a good one. Peace.